I was saying we need a lot of change, and I feel we have made a lot of changes. We had a whole new board back then, and we've done things like change the attitude of everybody needs to go to college. We brought back all the vocational. We've opened communication up tremendously. The other thing I really was a big part of is before I became a board member and while I was a board member, I became part of the Delta group because we in Del Norte County did see a need for change. And we started looking at a new way of approaching our teaching system, the way we're educating our children. And over a course of time, we ended up, we did focus groups, we did meetings, we did travel to other schools, both in-state and out-of-state, and said, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you doing that's working? It's just not working here. And since then, we have implemented DNL, the Del Norte Engaged Learning Model. And that was implemented 3 years ago. And that's what we're doing in Del Norte County to take care of our kids. And I think it's been a big change, and it's done very well for us. Of course, it's not perfect, and we're changing things as it goes and learning from what's working and what's not. But we're concentrating on what's going on in Del Norte County, and that's what I'm very proud to be a part of for the last 4 years.
Good evening, everyone. I am Angela Greeno. I am a graduate of Del Norte County High School. I graduated in 2005. I am married to a homeschooler who went through Castle Rock for 2 years. I have grown up through the system. I left as I went to college at Biola University in Southern California, but I really called this place home. So I came back. I said, I want to see some of the changes that I wish I could have done in high school. I wish I could have seen some of the changes that I could have done in elementary school. I want to make those changes. I'm coming back. And I got involved in a couple different organizations. I had my first job at county. I was able to do the attendance work. I got to get to know First Five. I worked with Wild Rivers Community Foundation and Building Healthy Communities, working through there about DNL and about Delta and all of these community organizations group. And then I realized, you know what? I need to be that change. I need to step up now and actually make the change. So that is why I am running. I am wanting to see a different transparency. I'm wanting to get the ABCs back on the board. Accountability, balance, and communication. There needs to be transparency. There needs to be information being given out to all of the community members, not just to the parents, not just to the teachers, not just to the classified staff, but everyone in the community, because at the end of the day, taxpayers are the ones who are paying for it, and they are part of this community. We see who comes out of the schools and are working in our jobs. We see who our parents are, our neighbors. We see these children, and it's a community effort. And I want to be able to see that change and bring it back to the board.
Milton, you're next.
Oh, yes. Good evening, I'm Mel Riley. I'm reasonably new to Del Norte County. How's that? That better? I was raised in Southern California. I went to Santa Ana High School, graduated in 1960. 1962, I married my wife of 52 years. At that same time, we had 2 children, 5 grandchildren, and how that goes. 4 of my grandchildren are here in Del Norte County going to school, and that's why I'm interested in what's happening in our schools. For myself, I went into the service in '62, served 2 years as the Coast Guard seaman, 2 years as the Coast Guard engineman. Got out of the service and went to work for the Southern Pacific Railroad as a machinist. The laboratory at the railroad decided they wanted somebody in the laboratory, a technician that knew something about engines. I was crawling under a locomotive, it was raining down, miserable. The guy in the laboratory was drinking coffee, and I thought, hey, that's for me. After 4 years with the railroad, the Southern Pacific, not Southern Pacific, the Pennzoil Company decided that they needed a chemist to do something about engines. I said, hey, that's for me. 35 years later, I retired as a supervisor of quality administration. I am currently now a notary public in Delaware County, and that's where I work most of the time. I'm commissioned in California and in Oregon. I have something else down there. I do have something else down there. It's the next page. Oh, yes. Out of time. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Don MacArthur. I am currently also a board member and currently serving as president. I've been a resident of Delaware County since about 2002. Before that, I lived in Coos Bay, where I was in private practice in psychology and counseling. I have a master's in education and counseling, and I have licenses to practice in Oregon. I now work at the College of the Redwoods as a learning disability specialist. I've worked with young people throughout my life in a variety of settings for many years. Education goes way back in my family. My grandmother taught in a one-room schoolhouse in Jamestown, North Dakota, where my uncle lit the coal stove every morning, even at 40 below. I grew up in Southern California, the oldest of 5 children, 2 of whom were teachers, one a charter school administrator in the Sacramento area. My twice-widowed mother supported her 5 children as a kindergarten teacher. And most of us went to public universities in California. We have benefited tremendously from the support that Californians provided for education, and I have been very sorry to see it go. It does not have to be this way with K-12 schools starved and college unaffordable for too many. I have wanted to do what I could to see support for education increase, and specifically to support local schools and teachers and staff in whatever way I could. I have enjoyed serving on the board. I can truly say it has been an education. I appreciate that the Tea Party has invited us to this, and I look forward to this forum, and thank you.
Thank you, Don. I'll read off the first question, and Lori will start with you. Delaware County is lagging behind California in test scores, with California being ranked among the bottom in the nation. Why do you believe we are so far behind, and what action will you take to improve our local system?
First, I don't think the question is quite accurate. I think there's some things I learned recently. I don't like where we're at in California, don't get me wrong. I'm truly a believer that we need to raise our standards and teach our children where they need to go, because we don't rank that well in the world. But against California, what I found out is, yes, we rank low. We really rank low in funding. We are one of the lowest states of what we put towards our children, and I think that's a shame. I also found out that we're comparing ourselves to other states, but we're not comparing apples to apples. California does have higher standards than most of the states. So even though we're ranking lower, states are doing testing that doesn't even compare to what we're doing here. That said, I still believe that we need a higher standard for our children, and that's where DNL came into play in my mind, and what I think we're going to do, and what we have been doing, what we are working on in the Del Norte engaged learning model, and teaching our kids differently. We have gone out in the community in focus groups and meetings and other places and said, what do we want our kids of Del Norte County to know? We need to worry about what we're doing here, not what they're doing down in Orange County. What do we want our children to know when they come out of our school district? And how are we going to teach it? And if they don't know it, how are we going to intervene? And if they do know it, what are we going to do to push them further? You know, I don't want to just say, okay, they got it, let them go. I want to push our children to all heights. So I think we have a very good start in what we're doing right now with the DNL, and I am here to back it all the way, to push it forward.
Right next. And just for clarification, Lori and Angela are in District 2, Milton and Don are in District 1.
So when we look at the rankings of how Del Norte County is comparing to the rest of the state, we're 56 out of 57. 48 when it comes to socioeconomic development, which includes high school graduation rates. We have an 85% high school graduation rate, which is great, but when we look at Humboldt, which has a 90, okay, we can do a little bit better, they're just our neighbor. 4% is still a difference. How we can change this? I say let's really start looking at attendance. We have seen multiple studies that said if our children are not going to school, they're not learning. As the other candidates from District 5 have said, you know, when they're getting in and out of the classroom, they're not really learning. We see that students who don't get their proficiency by grade 3, they're gonna really severely lack the skills when they get to 8th grade, high school, and college. So how can we change attendance? We need to make it a priority in the community. We need to make sure that people who are hiring high school students aren't scheduling them over their high school work time. I have seen it. We need to encourage parents that, you know, maybe kindergarten isn't required and you have to get enrolled when you're in 6th grade, but getting to preschool and kindergarten really can help kids get interested in wanting to be in school. We need to encourage, you know, when you see your neighbor that they posted on Facebook, oh, I'm sick, can't get the kids to school, maybe going, hey neighbor, it's really important to get these kids in school because the more we get into school, the more they learn, the higher our test scores go, the more money we get in, so on and so forth. It first has to get to making school a priority. Attendance needs to be number 1.
It's me again. The question is, what would I do to improve our schools? The first thing I would do is try to find out where are we. So I went to a website called School Vision. I don't know if it's a good website, a bad website, what, but it did list all the schools, districts in California, 789 of them. In that list from 1 to 789, we are 573. What does that mean? We're not doing as well as some other schools in whatever testing criteria this group used. The highest score went to 2 school districts, one with 170 students, love that. One with, similar to ours, 4,050 students. Their scores were .991. Our score was .357. We are way down the list from the top schools where we could be. The next thing I would do is go to these school districts or similar school districts and find out what they're doing and we're not. Then I would try to implement to the school board those changes that we can make. Thank you.
When I stand up, I can hardly see this. Okay.
Why is California schools low? Well, the flip answer, I suppose, is you get what you pay for. And we are last or near last, just ahead of Mississippi by some accounts, in our per pupil expenditures. The truth is more complicated. I suspect that the claim is based on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which did find California students lagging on testing. The test is conducted in a sample of schools, it's not universal, and results aren't reported individually. The tests are not a good indicator because what is tested on that test is not aligned with what and when it is taught in the California curriculum. So you're measuring it, but not comparing it correctly. The better measure is progress year over year by school and grade level. On that score, our students are continuing to improve. We have had 7 straight years of increased achievement scores. We're ahead of the state in our graduation rate, 95% versus 80%. We have been failing California schools. I believe that because of our funding. But California schools are not failing. Schools in other states have 30% more teachers and administrators than a similar-sized school in California. Frankly, I am deeply impressed by how well our schools and teachers and administrators have done given the starvation diet they've been given. Our employees are dedicated and professional and deserve our support and our thanks.